The Wizards lose in New York, 105-89. Next is a recap. Next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again with my guy, the real Ed Oliver. Thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. So as you know, the Wizards fell to the New York Knicks and New York 105-89. Ed, what are your positives from this game?
There weren't many positives, but I have to just talk about Rui Hachimura. Same thing with DeLon Wright. Rui dominated. I see you got a Rui jersey on for the show tonight. But there was a time where Rui got triple teamed. It was that's how much he was dominating. That's how aggressive he was. That's how he was getting to the basket, hit his mid-range shot. There was one time where I loved it, where he just swept through, took it to the basket, and body cam radish scored in the post. There was another time where he got the ball in transition and almost dunked on Isaiah Hartenstein, who's about 7'1". I love how he attacked the rim. I loved how he was being a pest defensively. I love how he was attacking the boards, had 8 boards. He was a plus 15 in this game. Him and DeLon Wright, they just wreaked havoc in there. They were like the Bash brothers coming in off the bench and gave this team life, man, because we were down 23-5 at one point. It was getting ridiculous. It really was getting out of hand in that first quarter. And then West subs in Rui, he subs in DeLon, and these guys are just wreaking havoc on the game. Rui finished the game with 20 points and 8 rebounds, almost had a double-double, had a plus 14 in the plus-minus box. So the guy's looking confident, man. He hit 1 3 as well, 5 or 6 from the free throw line as well, 7 for 14 from the field. The guy's looking confident. He looks like a man on a mission. All the good things that we heard in training camp and the mini camp in Los Angeles, where everybody was saying, all his teammates were saying that, this guy was really showing out. He was an impressive player. And people forget that Rui started his rookie year and his sophomore year, and he impacted the game in many ways. In the playoff series that we had, our one win against the Sixers, he had 20 points and 13 boards in that win against the Sixers. So he's contributed in big games for the Wizards before, and I think he's showing. He missed 40 games last year due to personal reasons. I think that was a setback for him, where Kuz took his minutes for the most part. But I think this year he can earn those minutes back. And he shot the ball well from 3 last year, but he's showing that he can score at all 3 levels. He can put the ball on the floor too. Now defensively is the question mark that we've talked about. And he's not a lockdown defender. I don't know if he'll ever be that, but we're seeing more effort on the other ends. And we've asked him, we want to see him rebound the ball, and he's starting to do that. He's a guy that should be getting double-doubles, honestly. We don't see him get double-doubles enough, but I think that's something that he should put on his list as goals that he wants to accomplish. But I like you. The other guy, DeLon Wright, man, he wreaked havoc on the game as well. He was a plus 20, 9 points and 7 boards, had 2 blocks, 3 assists and 1 steal. Just a stat sheet stuffer, man. This guy is disruptive. He's a pest on defense. He will pick up 94 feet, the full court. He's a great distributor of the basketball. He knocked down 2 threes in the third quarter. I want to say either the third quarter or fourth quarter, he hit 3 threes in that one quarter. And he blocked RJ Barrett. We talked about that before we started. He blocked RJ Barrett. This guy, man, he is going to be a defensive anchor and a great point of attack defender for the Wizards. Something that we've just been missing at that guard spot. So him and DeLon were the bright spots of the night. Other than that, Bradley Beal had some good moments scoring the ball. I thought he made some good plays defensively. But other than that, a lot of guys struggled on Friday. They really did. I know Porzingis didn't play. It's not an excuse. But we'll get to the things that we didn't like later.
Yeah, I totally agree. Rui was on point. Rui, look, like you said, double team, still got 20 points, 8 rebounds. He shows why he should start. In my opinion, he needs to start. This preseason, he's been on point. He's been an offensive prowess on the court. I mean, very impressed by what I've seen from Rui. So you very well could see Will Barton start as a 6th man. I know that Wes is, he didn't comment, he didn't really give anybody any kind of clue about, what direction he's going with the starting 3. But to me, he's proven enough to earn that starting spot. I want, so he's looked good, very good. Some more positives, like you said, not many of them. Gaff like I said, we'll get the gaff. 5 blocks. That is a positive. But Mitchell Robinson had his way tonight. The defense from DeLon Wright, Monte Morris, couple steals. The defense, we saw some moments defensively, but pretty much the Knicks did whatever they want. I mean, if you look at top 3 scorers of the Knicks, Brunson, 27 points, Barrett, 19, Mitchell Robinson, 20 points. So like I said, we'll get to it. But there were some positives. One thing I do like was ball movement. Ball movement was fluid. You see a lot of ball movement with this team. So that tells me that they're going to be okay offensively, excuse me. So yeah, ball movement. Yeah, that's about it. So let's get into the negatives. What you got for the negatives?
They really got out rebounded, man. They got bullied, and sometimes it comes to pride. And this some of the stuff that I saw last year too, where they got out rebounded in some games. They got bullied. They got out rebounded 66-40. Mitchell Robinson. You look at his numbers. You look at his offensive rebounding. You just look at his rebounding in general. Mitchell Robinson had 12 rebounds and 9 offensive rebounds. One player had 9 offensive rebounds. That's inexcusable. To open up the game, he had back-to-back offensive boards. And I love Daniel Gafford, but he's got to box out. He's got to be stronger than that. He's got to have a stronger core than that. I love Gaff. I really do. I think he's a talented player. We don't make the playoffs in 2020 without Daniel Gafford. Just his athleticism playing above the rim. But we need him to be more physical out there, and he just can't let guys like Mitchell Robinson overmatch him on the boards. Because that gave them extra possessions. Jalen Brunson was able to knock down threes off of offensive boards. It just gave the Knicks extra possessions. When we're working hard on defense, we got to get those stops. We got to finish those possessions. So that was something that they have to improve on during the season. And then points in the paint too. Guys did get to the basket. Jalen Brunson was penetrating into the basket. Derrick Rose got to the basket a couple times. RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, transition defense. We talked about this with the Hornets game. This is a problem. Like, they got to get back on defense. That's just fundamental basketball. We're letting guys just run back. They kept throwing and lobbing the ball to Obi Toppin. He got a couple easy layups. That's inexcusable stuff, man. And West is a defensive-minded head coach. We got guys that can run the floor. We got guys that are athletic. Obi Toppin should not be running passes. Same thing with Nick Richards from the Hornets. All their bigs from the Hornets. That's stuff that shouldn't happen. So 58 points in the paint for the Knicks to R36. 3-point shooting, that's a concern to me. And I know Porzingis didn't play, so he would help that. But we were 10 for 45 from the 3-point line, 22%. The Knicks didn't shoot well from the 3-point line too, but last year we made the fewest threes in the NBA. We had one of the lowest 3-point percentages in the NBA as well. So that was certainly a negative. We just got to be better in the rebounding category defensively. I thought we had 13 blocks. That's good. Gafford had 5 blocks. So that's one thing that he definitely did positive was shot blocking. His shot blocking was positive, but once again, transition defense is poor. 3-point shooting is poor. And rebounding is poor. So more improvement areas, but I do think Porzingis certainly will help with that.
Totally agree. But before we get into my negatives, Ed has a word from one of our sponsors.
And this episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money, I use it all the time. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. Maybe for you, it's an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. There's the great app I use that helps me track all of my expenses. And because of it, I no longer waste money on subscriptions I don't even use. You might have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. The app shows all your subscriptions in one place and cancels what you don't want for you. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. So make sure you check out Rocket Money. Also, thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen game to game. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across a league or a conference with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. All right, Brandon. So what were your negatives that you want to see the team work on?
Oh, let's get into it. All right. You hit the nail on the head. Rebounding. There is no reason why we should get rebounded 66-40. I mean, it's just Gaff has enough. I mean, we have enough guys who can rebound. It's just inexcusable. The rebounding has to get better. Let's see, 3-point shooting. Another area they struggled in last year, and another area where they are struggling at, lately. Kyle Kuzma, 0 for 6 behind the arc. Has to get better. Bradley Beal, 1 for 6 behind the arc. Has to get better. The guys who we lean on to hit these shots, they have to hit these shots. Bradley Beal. I know it's the first time, being back off of COVID protocols, last preseason game, but he's got to step up. He's the guy. He's the franchise player. There is a lot of responsibility, being that guy. There's a heavy burden being that franchise player. What can I say? 16 points is a stat line I want from a supporting guy. My franchise guy it has to get better. And finally, transition defense. My Lord, the transition defense. They're getting beat back. There's no hesitancy. I mean, there is hesitancy. People are taking their time getting back, and guys are taking advantage of it. Obi Toppin was rocking. Those 3 areas, those are big areas, because if we are not rebounding, if we're not transition defense, if we're not shooting from a high percentage behind the 3-point line, we're going to get knocked around in this league. We're going to get the Eastern Conference. Look, is not playing around. We open the night. We're going against Indiana. Indiana's a young, hungry team. If we don't show up these areas, they can have their way. Look, the Knicks are one of those teams we have to beat. We have to beat teams like the Knicks. So Indiana, like I said, is a hungry young team. And obviously we're going to review them a later date. But, this Eastern Conference is a monster. So these 3 areas are core areas. 3-point shooting. Brad has to get better. He cannot start slow. He's got to get better. So a lot of negatives. But like I said, opening night, as you don't know, Wednesday, 7 o'clock at Indiana. So moving on. 2-way contracts. As you know, Jordan Shackle and Jordan Goodwin were awarded the 2-way contracts with the final roster. What do you think about that, Ed?
Congrats to Jordan Goodwin. Other thing I'll say about Brad, I thought he had a good game. I thought he was good offensively. I thought he had a couple stops defensively too. I just think that the one time where he got a stop where he pickpocketed somebody, he celebrated instead of running on a fast break on transition. I thought they could have used him running the floor. And then, breaking down the other guys that played last night. Monte Morris, I thought he to start off, he didn't play well. I thought in the second half he played better. Just, we don't want to forget about the other guys too. Monte Morris was 4 for 12. 0 for 5 from the 3-point line, had 10 points. He was a minus 36. I mean, the whole starting unit was a minus. Like Kuz struggled. We can talk about Kuz's performance too. I thought Kuz struggled tonight too. There was one time where he had a wide open 3. He pump faked, and he just thought too much. Now, I wouldn't panic about Kuz too much because he didn't play well in preseason last year and then play well in the regular season. But we do need him to step it up and be ready from the jump. We don't need him to warm up and then get going like last year. Will Barton, 9 points, 4 assists. I thought he made some solid passes, knocked down a 3. Was 3 for 7 from the 3-point line. But just that whole starting unit, they just looked a step slow. They really did. To start off the first half and to start off the second half, they just looked like a step behind it. They looked like they got punched in the mouth. The Knicks punched them in the mouth. It looked like the Wizards starting unit wasn't ready, but the bench just looked more ready on Friday night than what the starters did, to be honest with you. I thought Brad, it took him a little while for him to get going. They didn't run a lot of plays for him either to start off, which I think Wes Unseld Jr., you got to, like you said, you got to get your best player to basketball. So we need to get him more touches to start the game off. But Kuz struggled, 7 points, 3 for 12 from the 3-point line, 0 for 6 from the 3-point line. And we'll talk about Johnny Davis a little bit too. Johnny Davis, I like that he rebounded the ball. He was a +7 in the plus-minus box. I thought he gave good effort, but the shot's just not falling. I think he's 2 for 21 from the field. I do think he needs a stint in the G League to develop for sure. I think that would help his development at the most. But once again, I do like his defense. He got blocked by Derrick Rose on a 3-pointer. Just the shot, his form is so slow right now. The mechanics are slow. He's not getting by anybody. He's not creating separation right now. So he just looks like a guy that definitely needs to spend time in the G League before coming to the roster. I think the Wizards, right when Kispert gets back, and Denny is healthy, which he is right now. I just think Johnny needs to spend time in the G League to start off. I just don't think right now, I don't see any minutes for him in the rotation. But that was just my other thoughts on the guys that played other than Rui and other than DeLon. Isaiah Todd did hit a 3. I was happy about that. He hit a 3. He scored, so I thought he looked confident. Let me see if I'm forgetting anybody else. Taj Gibson, he tried. I think Taj Gibson, he got overmatched by Mitchell Robinson too. He was just way too athletic for Taj Gibson out there. But Taj Gibson had an and one, and it was like a reunion for him going back to New York. But what were your thoughts on the other guys too, before we do get to the 2-way contracts?
I'm glad you asked. I'm not overly concerned. Kuz 0 for 6. Like you said, last season, preseason, he struggled. He's a veteran. He's been working out. He's going to do what it takes to get back. I have a lot of confidence in Kuz as a professional. Same thing with Will Barton, Monte Morris. Monte Morris, his shooting hasn't been the greatest during the preseason, but he's contributed in other ways. His assist numbers tonight were low. Bradley Beal had 5 assists, he had 4. But overall, I'm not concerned. I think these guys will be ready for opening night. Now, when it comes to Johnny Davis, he's got to go to G League. I mean, it's 1 or 2 bad games. I get young guy just getting drafted preseason. You're kind of getting your shot, kind of getting your rhythm, but this brother ain't hitting the side of a barn right now. I mean, he's just not seeing it, man. It's just and like I said, I'm a big Johnny Davis fan. I think he will be all right, but he's gonna have to get some playing time in the G League. I think that Jordan Goodwin, which we're going to touch on him in a little bit, I think he picks those minutes up. I think you really have to see what you got from Jordan Goodwin, because he showed enough during the preseason to show that he needs some minutes. He's shown that he can score. He's got vision. I mean, I came away very impressed with Jordan Goodwin. So yeah, Johnny Davis is unfortunate, but we've shown that we can develop certain guys. Gary Payton II came from this organization. Isaiah Todd, while he doesn't have the IQ yet, he doesn't have the playmaking yet. The shot is fluid, and he's shown glimpses of what he can contribute 1 to 2 years down the line. So the go-go will get him right. So I'm not overly concerned, but just Johnny Davis, he needs some work, man. He needs some work. So
yeah, it's going to be a slow process. It just is. I think defensively, he's shown some promise there, some versatility, and he has the heart and the 1-2 to dive on the floor for the loose ball. He's guarding point guards at times. He had a tough task guarding Derrick Rose on Friday, guarding RJ Barrett, other guys. I thought he did his best. He did give a back door to Jalen Brunson in the first quarter. But we know, like we're both big. I'm a big fan of Johnny too. I think he's a hard worker. I think he's a dog. I think he's got all the stuff that you want mentally in a guy like him. He's just got to get his confidence up. And I think the G League would benefit him. Another one positive, I was dogging Gafford in the beginning for just giving up so many offensive rebounds to Mitchell Robinson, but he did have 5 blocks. He had 5 blocks. He had 4 turnovers and 0 assists. A positive for Monte is he had 4 assists and no turnovers. Will Barton had 4 assists and 1 turnover. So their assist to turnover ratios have been really good. My question mark is just how does Monte and Will do without, the offense running through a big man, because last year they had to play with Jokic. Jokic was giving, he was facilitating. I think that's what Wes wants to do with Porzingis, is run the offense through Porzingis. So that's why I think the offense just didn't work as well as it has when Porzingis was out there last year. And some of the preseason games looked really, the Hornets game, I thought the offense looked good running through Porzingis. But yeah, Kuzma struggled. And like I said, I'm not going to hit the panic button on that. But yeah, Johnny Davis, I'm a big fan of his, and I think he's going to work his way out of this funk in a couple years. I think he's going to be a productive player. It may take 2 to 3 years, but I think he'll be a good player in the NBA.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, like you said, his defense, he's solid defensively. You see why we drafted him at that position. I'm still in favor of the draft pick. I'm not hitting the panic button. I think, yes, he needs time in the G League, but he's shown enough to where he's ready to learn, he's ready to develop. So, again, I'm not pushing the panic button. But before we move on, tonight's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your #1 source for football betting info this season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sport wagering information, with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest, easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, like I said, 2-way contracts. One went to Jordan Shackle, the other one went to Jordan Goodwin. Now, do you agree with that? And do you agree with Quenton Jackson being on waivers?
Yeah, congrats to Jordan Goodwin. I think he worked hard. I thought he had a good summer league. I thought he was productive in the preseason games as well. I do like Jordan Goodwin. He's a strong bulldog guard. He can rebound the ball really well. He was being a pest defensively. He's a guy that was being really scrappy. He can rebound really well. Like I said, he's a good facilitator too. He's a good passer. He just has to improve from the 3-point line, and I think he has a good mid-range jumper. You say you watched him play for the Go-Go last year. He played really well for the Go-Go team. So he's worked his way up over the past 2 seasons. So congrats to him. The other two-way is Jordan Shackle, but Quenton Jackson, I would have loved to see him get that two-way, but he just didn't get a lot of playing time. He barely played in that Hornets game. He barely played in the Summer League game. I thought he played really well. And he didn't play at all against the Knicks. So that's why I was saying, I was kind of wishing that we had a 5th preseason game. So we could just see a little bit more of the young guys. Todd, too. I just wanted to see more playing time for Johnny Davis, too. I think if we had an extra game, he could have got some more reps and would have been able to get his feet wet. And the last thing I saw about Johnny is, they didn't play him at point guard against the Knicks, which is good because they're trying to use him as a point guard, which he's really not. So that's the question mark there too with the developmental process. So if he does play in the G League, are they going to make him play point guard? But to answer your question, I would have liked to see Quenton Jackson get it, but I'm a big fan of Jordan Goodwin's game, man. The guy plays hard, and the Wizards need more bulldogs out there, guys that play hard, that want to play defense, that want to scrap, come off the bench, provide a spark. He's an undrafted guy that's worked his way up and has worked hard. So I think he's a guy that can definitely carve out some minutes. Like you said, there may be some nights where we're going to need him to play, and he may come in and get a couple steals, make some nice passes, get some rebounds, knock down a 3, just be scrappy. And that's a guy. You look at the guy from the Pelicans. I think his name is Jose Alvarado. He was an undrafted guy that came in, or a 2nd-round pick, and he just was a spark. You look at guys from the Heat all the time. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus. They have guys that just are undrafted. Their scouting department is so good, and they're able to develop guys. And we've done it too, like Gary Payton II. We had him in the building, and he left. So maybe Jordan Goodwin is a guy that we can help and develop, and he can stay in the building and be a big factor in this roster. But I think they made a solid decision giving him the two-way. I'm just hoping another team doesn't sign Quenton Jackson. I would be very upset if that happened, and they waived Devin Dotson to Craig Sword. But I would be very upset if another team picks up Jordan Goodwin. Quenton Jackson. But hopefully Quenton Jackson's on the G League team.
Completely agree. Jordan Goodwin has shown enough to not only earn that two-way contract, but to earn some playing time, in my opinion. Without being a dead horse, we both think that Johnny Davis should start in the G League. And I stand by that. I think Jordan Goodwin should inherit those minutes. He's shown enough he can be a playmaker, he can shoot behind the arc. He's shown enough to where he deserves some playing time. And same with Shackle. Shackle, last season when we were dealing with COVID, Shackle came in and he was hitting some good shots. I like what I see him from his game playing at the Go-Go. Quenton Jackson, yeah, I'm with you. I'm a big fan of him. The hops, but he might be gone, because other teams see this talent. Other teams are watching these games too. So it's hard to believe that we're not the only team that sees some value with Quenton Jackson. So, overall, I think they made the right decision. But like I said, there's a lot of talent with this G League team. The Go-Go has a lot of talent. Now, I was surprised to see Isaiah Todd make a roster. I was expecting him to kind of get a little more time at the Go-Go. So that was a surprise for me. What do you think about Isaiah Todd?
I like Isaiah Todd. He's their 2nd-round pick, so they did invest a lot in him and in the developmental process. Going back to that trade, we had a 1st-round pick. We traded it for Aaron Holiday and Isaiah Todd being the 31st pick. So I like his game. I just think he has a lot to work on, strength-wise, putting the ball on the floor, dribbling the ball. I like against the Knicks, he had a nice pump fake. He dribbled to the mid-range, knocked down a mid-range jumper, and then he hit a 3 against the Knicks. So I thought he showed some potential. We know he's super athletic. He's uber athletic. He's 6'10". He can run the floor like a gazelle. But he's really got to work on it. He's really got to get in the weight room. He really has to rebound the ball better. He really has to play make better and pass the ball and keep his head up when he's dribbling. So there's just some things that I want to see him work on, some improvement areas for sure. But I think him being on the roster, he'll probably be like the 14th or 15th man. I don't really see him being in the rotation at the moment. Maybe he will suit up in the G League and play on the regular team at times. But congrats to him. I do think he did, because Vernon Carey made the roster as well. Just pulling up the roster sheet here. I guess Isaiah Todd made it. Vernon Carey made it. And then, Shackle and Jordan Goodwin are the two-way contract guys. Anthony Gill's on the roster. And then everybody else is guys that we already know, like Taj Gibson's going to make it. Of course, Denny, Brad, Will, those are just the guys that you already know. But I guess the back end of the roster is like Isaiah Todd and Gill and Shackle and Jordan Goodwin.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they made the right choice. I think we're good going forward. With this being our last preseason game, obviously it's go time. It's a regular season now. It's time to roll. So I think overall we're good. Practice, everybody was a participant except for obviously Corey Kispert. So hey, look, we're starting to get the lineup ready. Starting to get ready to go. So moving on. Oh no, I want to go back to the young guys. Mm-hmm. And I can't. You got to help me out here. But the big guy for the go-go, Jamie Henry.
It's Echenique.
You got it. That's another guy I like. He can rebound. He can defend. There's a lot of talent with this team. So I'm not overly concerned with, the deficiencies we saw. And I see a lot of depth. When you have a lot of depth on your G League team, that is a good thing. So I'm not overly concerned. So moving on, extension time. Now, as you know, if you don't know, the Warriors re-signed Jordan Poole and Anthony Wiggins. So, Rui, has he shown enough for you to earn that extension?
Yeah, Andrew Wiggins got an extension. Jordan Poole. It's yet to be determined, but Brandon Clark got a 4-year, $52 million deal. Who played with Rui and Gonzaga. Brandon Clark's had a good career. He's definitely benefited, getting the ball from Ja Morant, just running the floor and just being an energizer bunny on the team, just being an athletic guy, finishing around the rim, finishing above the rim, and defending well. The only thing about Rui is just he's missed games. Him missing those 40 games last year hurt, man. It really did. And then he had a groin injury one year. He's just missed a lot of games, and your best ability is your availability. If Rui would have played like he's played in these past 2 preseason games last year, the whole season, I think he would have got an extension already. I think it would have been something similar to what Brandon Clark got, like a 4-year, $52 million. But since he was out, came back after 40 games, had to find his way in the rotation. Wes had him coming off the bench with a minute restriction. So it was just hard to evaluate. And it's the same thing with Denny, too. It's hard to evaluate because, Denny's having setbacks, missing games. He played all 82 games last year. Then he got hurt his rookie year, and then he has a setback with his groin injury. So it's made his evaluation process a little bit tougher. But, he's going to be available the first game of the year, which is great. But like I said, with Rui, it's just made the evaluation process a little bit tougher. And he has been inconsistent. I think he's a legitimate scorer, but the rebounding and the defense are question marks, and the playmaking are question marks. But I would love to see the Wizards bring him back. The 2 preseason games that I saw, I know it's just preseason, but the man looks like he really, really is locked in this year. He really does.
Yeah, I think he's done enough to start. Now, as you said, with him missing time last season, I still think he needs to show some more improvement. He needs to show more worth to the team. And I say that because Andrew Wiggins, not Anthony Wiggins, that is. Andrew Wiggins, he took a big step from coming over from Minnesota. He was a key integral part of that team winning the championship. Big part. Same thing with Jordan Poole. These two guys, they led, their effort led to a championship. So, extension, yeah, absolutely. Brandon Clark, like you said, played with Rui at Gonzaga. Brandon Clark played defense. He can shoot a 3 if needed. Now, he's not going to shoot from a high percentage, but he has that capability. Mid-range shooter. He can rebound. So Rui has the intangibles, but the timeout, time away, injury, or mental health, that's a factor. So I think that he still has ways to go to earn that extension. Not a long way. I think he's hit in the right direction, but he has a little ways to go. Right.
And then, so I did want to talk about this quote too. So Ava Wallace, who works for the Washington Post, she asked Wes Unseld Jr. If she said, I'm reading the tweet. This is what she tweeted. She said, ask Wes Unseld Jr. if Rui Hachimura, the Wizards' undisputed most improved player right now will continue coming off the bench. Wes Unseld Jr. declined to answer. What were your thoughts on that? And then also, do you think DeLon Wright and Rui should start over Will Barton and Monte Morris?
Oh, wow. Good questions, man. Good questions. Well, Wes ain't stupid. He knows he's really trying to hold some mystery to it, and I get it. You know, opening night, you know, you're not trying to let people know what you're trying to do already. I get that. But I do think it's a hard one because I could see why he would start Will Barton, but then I could see why he would start Rui. I think Rui has shown enough that he should start, but Will Barton has shown enough that he could start also. So that's a hard decision. And do I see DeLon Wright taking over the starting role? Defensively, wow. I mean, Monte Morris, he's not a lockdown by any means. You know, he's an improvement if you look at Spencer Dinwiddie, but he's not a lockdown per se. But DeLon Wright, talking about effort, I mean, he was all over the place. His effort, I mean, he showed you gotta visit that a little bit. I mean, if you look at matchups, certain matchups with bigger point guards, like playing against Oklahoma City, you would put DeLon Wright out there because I don't see Monte Morris really keeping his own with SGA. I just don't see it. So with taller point guards, yeah, I could totally see DeLon Wright starting. And then right now, this shows how hard it is for Wes because you have so many guys who can start. He's got this work cut out for you.
Yeah, I think honestly, the way they played on Friday, I think I would have DeLon and Rui start. But you do need a spark off the bench. I know Rui, he's coming off the bench. He's the first option, but when he came in, Brad was still in the game. There were still some starters in the game, and he still took over and dominated that game and forced the Knicks to triple team him at one point. But yeah, if they see how these first couple of games go, and I hope Wes makes adjustments if needed. I hope he doesn't just stick to DeLon and Will just because, you know, they were Nuggets guys. I do want him to switch it up. If the lineup, you know, in practice today, we saw a clip on Twitter the Washington Wizards put out where it looked like the starters were in blue jerseys. Denny was in that lineup. I don't know if that's going to be the day one lineup. I do think Wes has kind of made his mind up to have Will start, but who knows? You just don't know. It could change. And it's not always about who starts, it's about who finishes. But I think Rui definitely, if he keeps it up during the season, he's still putting up 15 points at 8 or 20 and 8, and he's dominating games and he's showing defensive effort, then I think he deserves to start for sure. Same thing with DeLon. And, you know, he gives you a longer physical presence at that point guard position. And, you know, Monte coming off the bench, I think he would be good. Will Barton would be the perfect sixth man. But yeah, Rui and DeLon, man, the way they came in, impacted, and changed that game, you may have to – you got to get out to quick starts. The Wizards start slow a lot. I know last year they started out 10-3, which was definitely an outlier. But they got to have a quick start. They can't start these games out slow like they did against the Knicks being down 23-5. So, yeah, honestly, I would take a look at starting Rui and starting DeLon. But like I said, if Wes does go out there and starts Monte and Will and they have these slow starts, then he has to make adjustments because that's something that Wes didn't do a lot last year. He liked to stick to his first option. He didn't like to change things up. He didn't like to make a lot of changes or big adjustments to the lineup. And I think that was some of his downfall last year.
I completely agree. I would love seeing DeLon Wright start. Now, will he? I don't think so. I think going forward, Monte will be the starter, but eventually you have to really look at that. Again, you got to look at that question. Can DeLon Wright start? I think he can. He's shown enough tenacity on defense to where he can hang with these faster point guards. He showed that. You know, the fact that he can shoot from behind the arc, you know, that would be my choice. Rui. Yeah, obviously he has shown enough for him to start. Barton, do I think right now he's better than Will Barton at 3? Yeah, I do. Rui's shown enough. He's ready to roll. So, like you said, I'm with you. I see Wes starting Will Barton and Monte, but going forward, it's just a matter of time, in my opinion, before those two get inserted into the starting lineup. So, we're going to go ahead and call it there for tonight. Thank you guys for watching tonight. Thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. The NBA season is here, and our local NBA experts and insiders have you covered on and off the court all season long. All the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. Available on YouTube, Odyssey, and wherever you get podcasts. Now, our Twitter handles are below, so definitely send us some love and questions. And Everybody have a good night. Peace.